So take a
Look what you've done. Baby, now we got bad blood. Ho! Welcome back to the show and talk about bad blood. If suspicions around a song on her latest album are correct, then Taylor Swift is pretty epic at holding on to grudges, Katya.
And rightly so, says many of her Swiftie fans. But for those not in the know, let's do a little recap of how Tay-Tay and Kim K's alleged beef began.
Meow.
It's the celebrity feud that shows no signs of abating, even 8 years later. The beef started back in 2016 when Kanye West, then Kim's hubby, referenced Taylor in his song Famous. Kim and Kanye said she'd approved the mention. Taylor said she didn't. Kim then leaked a recording of Taylor seemingly agreeing to her name being used. But this recording was later proven to be edited. The drama. Fast forward to 2024 and it's the track Thank You Amy from Taylor's new album that's causing headlines. The capitalised letters in the song title spell out Kim. Not very subtle there, Tay-Tay. The song also includes lyrics allegedly referring to Kim's eldest daughter, North, as being a Swiftie. This is after Kim posted, then deleted, more drama, a video of North bopping to Taylor's hit, Shake It Off. I mean, the irony.
The irony. So whether you are a Team Taylor or Team Kim, the bigger question is, are grudges ever really a good idea?
Here to break down this very human trait is our own behavioural psychologist and super Swiftie fan, Padraig Walsh.
He loves Taylor Swift. I'm not surprised he's a huge Swiftie.
It's okay, that's allowed.
Yeah.
Now, Padraig, as we mentioned, Taylor's grudge with Kim K is around 8 years old now. Like, I actually remember witnessing it on Snapchat in real time. So I have to ask you, why do people hold on to grudges for so long?
I'm exhausted listening to that
Goes way back.
whole description of grudges. Yeah. And I often think about this, the seduction of self-righteousness. Where you feel like you have been wronged, it's very, very difficult to let that go. Now, if it's making you a lot of money and creating drama for Taylor Swift, that's a whole different ballgame. But for us...
How much has she made off this, you
was
said?
there a billion? I heard a billion mentioned.
Wow.
I'm not a Swiftie. I probably will be in time.
Be careful saying that now,
I know.
because they'll come after you.
This is one of the interesting things about grudges. So when I was younger, right, I remember going to secondary school and, you know, it was an all-boys secondary school in the 90s. And I remember you'd fall out with somebody, right, during the day. And the next day, I remember going in and just talking away to the person I'd fallen out with and having fun with them. And a third party, another person came in and said, what are you doing talking to them? They were fighting with you yesterday. And I remember thinking, oh, I completely forgot. But now I feel almost like I have to.
Because you're being reminded.
You're being reminded. Then the battle lines start to be drawn. Now, I just really find it difficult to hold a grudge just in my head, memory-wise, and the effort involved. It's exhausting, exactly. But you often find that other people get brought into this. You asked a question, really interesting question, because grudges don't turn into just a one versus one. They turn into an entire social dynamic. And it gets dangerous where you might have parents who are disagreeing and then their kids aren't allowed to talk. We see Romeo and Juliet being a classic example of that.
There's layers to it.
There's layers to that.
Okay, so I have to ask you, for viewers watching, are you either a person that holds a grudge or that doesn't?
So there are, like I said, there's lots of different social elements that can impact upon that. You mightn't be, but then you get pressure from others to actually impose that and hold on to it. But predominantly the personality trait that you're looking out for is this sense of justice, that you expect from others a high standard or the same standard that you're giving to others. Where people feel like they have been hard done by, where they feel like there isn't equality of treatment, where people aren't treating each other the same. I'm treating you in a particular way, and now you're not treating me in this way. I'm going to hold a grudge. But when you think about it, when you go back to things like football teams where people have grudges against each other, it has nothing to do with your interpersonal interactions at all. It's more this broader social identity. I heard when I was researching this, because I'm a Swiftie, I read about a Taylor Swift fan who wrote a letter to somebody who'd written an article who was questioning her latest album with a death threat.
Oh, that's extreme.
So, but you have this thing where Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift have a disagreement 8 years ago. But because of the knock-on effect of this, two people who've never met each other, who don't know anything about each other, are representing those two parties to the level of death threats and this kind of crazy stuff.
And also, on an important note, what is the mental health impact of holding a long-standing grudge?
So you go back 2,000 plus years, you will see when organized religion starts to become Christianity being one, forgiveness is always talked about. And I think they were onto something there. Because at that point in time, they were saying, you know, holding on to things and having a grudge is not good for us individually or collectively. You go fast forward to the 2000s and you have Elsa in Frozen saying, let it go.
Yeah, I love
Right?
that.
It's so Taylor
simple.
Swift to Elsa.
But it's so simple, but so effective.
But so effective and so important.
Yeah.
Because it does have a knock-on impact on your own mental health. When you talk about what overwhelms your thoughts when you're holding a grudge, what happens is that you start to value the deterioration of somebody else rather than you advancing. You stick in the past. You mentioned 8 years, Brian.
Yeah.
Somebody is staying 8 years behind. It limits your advancement as a person and your development, and it drags other people around you down.
We were talking about this earlier from my own personal experience. Say, for example, if you have a grudge with someone, are your friends and your partner supposed to agree with you and hold the same grudge against this person?
It depends upon the situation. The person around you, if they're noticing that this grudge is having a real detrimental effect on you, really what they're trying to do is get you to focus on something else and to focus on yourself and to question, is this something useful for you to hold on to? There's a concept in behavioural economics called the tragedy of the commons, okay? Where if we focus on our own self-interest, if everyone focuses on their own self-interest, it ends up to the detriment of everyone else, of the collective well-being. So imagine we shared a house together and we said, we're all going to clean up the house, the three of us, okay? And you're on Monday, you're on Tuesday, I'm on Wednesday, and you missed Tuesday. And I decide,
Tuesday.
I'm not going to clean up because you didn't clean up. And then Brian says, well, I'm not going to clean up because Porry didn't. And we all want to live in a clean house, and we all want to have a rota, but instead we end up living in this cesspit because I'm focusing more on your, you know, the grudge I have against you rather than me
But you're
advancing.
suffering the consequences.
Correct.
But it's interesting, though, because I have sisters. Like, if someone's falling out with one of my sisters, they're falling out with me.
Yeah.
You have sisters, too.
Yeah, I get that.
But it's like that protective sort of nature.
Creatures.
I don't know.
Human beings are tribal creatures.
Yeah.
This is why we have football teams that we follow and you see fans fighting against each other and holding grudges. We don't get on with them. We see, you know, people dividing on arbitrary lines that don't matter. You know, county versus county, club versus club, team versus team, family versus family.
So with that being said, how do we get over a grudge?
Yes, finish on a positive catch. I like that.
Elsa said it best when she said, let it go.
What if you don't want to let it go, Porry, because you can't, you're too hurt?
You're asking for others. Always
Can we focus on something else?
But think about it, like where you're focusing on the past. Mindfulness is a huge amount of benefit here for us because we're focusing on how is this making me feel in my body, in my head. And if you're noticing somebody around you holding a grudge and it is doing damage to them, try and help them to let it go, as Elsa would say.
Let it go.
If you sing that to me,
Let it
I will let it go. Porry, thank you so much. Give
Thank
Porry
you
a round
so
of applause.
much.
Thank you.